Background in this guy, him and his partner were ex-Navy SEAL commanders, and they got out of the business or the military and took what they learned in the SEALs and turned it into a successful consulting business.
Where'd you send it?
To your chat. It's over on the right.
Oh, got it. Oh,
We don't have volume.
hold on.
And I do believe it's PG, but if it's not, sorry.
This room
I mean, not, but really, but sorry.
is definitely not PG, especially Randy.
I know Randy's not.
Okay, sorry. Greg, by the look on your face, you're not PG either. And I won't even go.
Heck, I'm prior military, so I'm all right.
So you know what I'm talking about.
I don't really like those words, self-help or self-management or self-improvement. I don't really like what those words have come to mean these days. Because there's a lot of people out there that are constantly trying to improve themselves by looking for the one change.
I think so.
The one change, right? The one change in their life that's gonna make their dreams come true. I'm no guru. And I definitely don't claim to be. I'm just a man.
Not the right one.
But I will tell you this, it isn't one thing.
Just go to YouTube, right?
And it isn't 10 things, and it isn't 100 things. It isn't a quick path, and there.
He was something.
That was a warm up.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds passionate about it.
Yeah, that's not it. Go to Jaku podcast.
I don't see it.
Just search.
You know, spam?
Scroll down.
Which email did you send it from?
Scroll down.
That one was getting good though.
What episode?
It's called, it says, it's just, the title's good.
I saw it.
Oh.
This one?
Yeah, there you go.
One of my direct subordinates, one of my guys that worked for me, he would call me up or pull me aside with some major problem, some issue that was going on. And he'd say, boss, we got this and that and the other thing. And I'd look at him and I'd say, good. And finally one day he was telling me about some issue that he was having, some problem, and he said, I already know what you're gonna say. I said, well, what am I gonna say? He said, you're gonna say good. He said, that's what you always say. When something is wrong and going bad, you always just look at me and say good. And I said, well, yeah, when things are going bad, there's gonna be some good that's gonna come from it. Didn't get the new high-speed gear we wanted? Good. Didn't get promoted? Good. More time you get better. Oh, mission got canceled? Good. We can focus on the other one. Didn't get funded. Didn't get the job you wanted. Got injured. Sprained my ankle. Got tapped out? Good. Got beat? Good. You learned. Unexpected problems? Good. We have the opportunity to figure out a solution. That's it. When things are going bad, don't get all bummed out, don't get startled, don't get frustrated. If you can say the word good, guess what? It means you're still alive. It means you're still breathing. And if you're still breathing, well then hell, you still got some fight left in you. So get up, dust off, reload, recalibrate, re-engage, and go out on the attack.
I don't know if you agree with me, but I think that's the best video I've watched in a while.
I like it.
Because there's always opportunity in bad. So, and he is intense.
Good music. He isn't.
Right.
Yeah, he's scary. I would not.
I wouldn't want to say something
You want him
bad
on your
to him.
side.
No,
Yeah.
no, and then their book's awesome too, so
I
yeah.
would not want to be on the other side of his rifle.
He's the kind of guy you want to be right next to.
Yeah, they were high level Navy SEAL,
Oh, yeah.
so.
Yeah, he looks tough. You could even tell he was a Navy SEAL just by his face. He looks
His
tough.
voice is just like,
Yeah, he's scary.
anyway, on that note,
you.
What's everyone think? You guys excited that, you guys, most of you guys have been here every week, right?
Just about.
For Southern Momentum. Has it been good? Learned a lot,
Yes.
especially for Greg and Marinella as newer agents.
Have you implemented anything you learned since you started the first week? Working on it?
Well, I've been using stuff that we.
Right.
And I'm improving creating my own stuff, let's say.
I sent out my first mailing on Monday. Bought a mailing list for veterans or for military.
Okay.
So Steve has always had a program, it's called the Heroes Program, where he has a discount for.
Yeah.
Homes for Heroes, yep.
Yep, so, actually, I'm gonna copy if you guys can let me know what you think.
So are you ex-military then?
No.
Okay.
No. My son-in-law is,
Okay.
so, but that's the one, you can see what it's sealed with on the back too.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. Where'd you get the list from?
Bought it from a company I used to use in another life over in Omaha.
Okay.
So, but they were able to narrow it down and we just, for the metro area
Is that
here.
list expensive?
No, a couple $100.
It's not bad. There's a company here in town over in East Village. They do the same thing, but they're up there. That same
Yeah, no,
couple grand.
these guys, I've dealt with them previously, so. But the-
Yeah, that's a great looking letter. Good.
But,
So that's something that you
sent
took
out
away
50,
from a farming
sent out
idea?
50 on Monday and sent out another 50 every week. See how it goes.
Same list or different people?
Same list, different people,
Okay.
because there's, I think we got 1,800 names on it. So,
Hi, Shannon.
doing 50 a week, see how it works, and if I get to a couple, 300, and nothing's happened, try something different.
How long are you gonna do that for, you said?
Well, I'm gonna go through at least, the 250, 300 of them, and I'll give it 6 to 8 weeks.
I honestly, I mean, just statistically speaking, I think if you're gonna effectively do it, you should probably do it a little longer than that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because,
Probably 8 months.
yeah, 8 to 12 weeks, I would
Okay.
say, hitting the same addresses, to really see the results, because at that point, you only need one of them to make it work.
Yep, that's right.
No, this looks nice.
Yeah. Anyone else have any key things that they've taken away from the prior training sessions?
I've been doing newsletter, sending out email lines, and just on my sphere of influence, that's my clients or people I know.
You have a program, or are you just doing your own?
I get a newsletter once a week from a thing called In Touch.
Did you, any results, any feedback?
I get some feedback from it, and people kind of, they appreciate the info. I mean, it's basically just ideas on real estate and what's going on.
So it's a template they provide to you, can you tweak it at all, or
No.
can't change it?
No, I kind of pick and choose what I want to do, so.
I'm just thinking though, is it like a lot of people are inking and stuff
No, it's all over.
all over the place? I was just thinking though, if you could add like, like lighting thing, like Christmas, they have different things, or
Sure.
churches do different events where they light up, play music, and
Just add that.
different community events. If you had the ability to add that, I think that would be beneficial. But no, that's cool.
Yeah.
Is that going out on Facebook, is that where you putting it?
Where do you put it exactly? Where you put it?
I'm sorry, it goes out to Facebook, my realtor page, and also on my homepage.
Do you email it at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. So as far as what I've heard then, a little bit of farming with what Greg's doing, Randy, referral marketing, which is awesome.
Yeah, I started doing some door hangers.
Anything from that yet?
No.
How do you do it? What's your hanger say?
I pick a particular area.
Right, but what's on the hanger? What's the hanger say?
It says, I should go on with me. It has some really nice pictures, and it says information about me. I put my business card on it. It says, you want to call a professional, you want to call somebody who, knows what they're doing, blah, blah, blah. So I just put that on there. So.
How often are you doing that in the same neighborhood?
Yeah.
How often?
Once every 6 to 8 weeks.
It's good. You should just if you continually do that, you should start to see some results.
Mhm.
And the door hangers are fairly inexpensive.
Yeah. Kind of get in some conversations with people that you don't really have, so.
Yeah. Well, today, what we have prepared and planned for you is we're gonna wrap up, recap the last 8 sessions, and then also focus on some activity and time management ideas. So recapping what we did week 1, that was all about real estate perspective. We talked about what are your career options, and not just for real estate agents, but people in general. The difference from being an employee versus self-employed versus business owner and investor. And our suggestion, and everyone in this room is following that suggestion, is being a business owner. We, as real estate agents, we are independent contractors, you're self-employed, but from a RE/MAX standpoint, our mission, our vision is to help you become successful business owners. You are owning and operating and running your own business. And so I think everyone in this room is definitely of all the things that you've done and worked on, you're treating your real estate practice as a business. And then the next level, I know a lot of us in this room have talked about this or have done this, is also being an investor as well.
Aspire to be.
Yep.
Yeah, and then so many people start off with, and it's just because you have to, being the high, you've had a lot of time invested when you first get into real estate, but then once you switch up over here, you start managing activities better, turning that business owner, then that becomes life changing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jane's exactly right. A lot of times when you're a brand new agent, you have a lot of time, not as much cash, so you're hustling and working. As you become a business owner, you're going to be able to leverage a lot of that more. So also we talked about, are you learning based? And that's one thing that we've always coached on, is just really being, coming from a law of abundance, coming from a law of attraction, and then also focusing on just growing. And one of the things that we've experienced with lots of agents, whether they're still in business or not in business, is many agents will come to all the training that we do, but then they don't take it to anywhere else. They just absorb the information, they attend, they sit in the seat, they take notes, but they don't study it, they don't practice, they don't take action, they don't reinforce it. So that's the one thing, even though today is the last day of this year's next level momentum, you still have all the material. Like, Greg, looks like you've done a great job organizing and putting in binders.
Yeah, otherwise I wouldn't find it.
Yeah,
I
well,
even have my note pages in there too.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, in my opinion, we should always be learning based, because there's nothing that we're going to accomplish or want to accomplish that someone else hasn't already done. So just whether it's watching podcasts or coming to these trainings or reading books, or there's always something more that can be taught.
Yeah, I was watching a video the other day of Warren Buffett. You guys might have seen this video.
Love that guy.
And he just reads nonstop. One of the richest men in the world just reads. And he spends hours a day reading.
8 to 8 hours a day.
Yeah, and then Bill Gates, same thing. I mean, you think those guys could just check out. You don't really need to do anything, but they both continue to read and learn and grow, even after the success. And
Well, and if you're like me, I don't retain information easy when I read, but I can listen to it. So there's different forms of getting that learning and that education.
that's going to probably be the biggest takeaway from this next level momentum and today, is just remember that acronym SPARK: study, practice, action, reinforce. Just because next level momentum's over, you have all the handouts, it's all on the Google Drive, just continue to study it, then start to, continue to practice. And then the key thing is taking the action. So many people don't take action. And if you need help with that, we're always here to help. Okay. We also talked about becoming intentional and proactive. All that leads to achievement. So just having your aspirations and the direction that you want to go, focusing on those, spending your time on the right activities. That's all important. So what we're suggesting is go back, review 28 beliefs and the handouts that we've given, the 60 ancillary arms, the total of 94 vital activities, which is a combination of the listing and buying activities, and then the $13 productive activities. Just continue to spar those items. That make sense? And then week 2, we talked about referral, which it sounds like Marinella, with the listing that you just got, that was a referral, right? It was parents of a friend that is in your database.
They messaged me on my Facebook business, or she did, which it's like one of the lazy.
The parents or
The daughter.
daughter, okay.
It's like,
One of
they
these.
weren't, well, I would never think that they would use me, like, I would never,
Mhm.
not someone that's in my circle,
Mhm.
and they did.
People watch, I mean, you'll find as you continue to grow, and everyone will continue to grow, that you'll find people that you haven't heard from in maybe 15 years, or someone you went to high school with, saying, hey, I've been back to the area, would you help me? Because they've been watching. So
Yeah, well, it's a
Very
project,
important.
so.
yeah.
So I have a quick question for everyone. How many in this room feel like they have a really good, solid referral marketing system? Gary? Shannon?
I would say system, but I have a solid, I mean, I guess I just try to stay in touch with everyone.
How do you stay in touch with them?
Calls, texts, trying to get together for
How
coffee.
do you track it?
I don't track it, and that's why I say I don't have a system.
Mhm.
But that is 100% where my business is.
Yeah, I would really, if knowing that, come up with that tracking system, because what you're currently doing successfully, you could double by tracking the
Well, that's the thing
activities.
that I've learned in this, and I'm just waiting for everyone to like get that system in place. That is,
If you don't make it a priority, you're always gonna be waiting for a moment.
Which we're gonna talk about a little bit, Shannon.
Yes.
So, not to put you on the spot. Shannon, just so everyone knows, had a great year. I mean, you were working on as a team agent, and I mean, I say great as far as where you were at from a team to this year, but definitely works a lot by a good majority of your business is by referral. So what Shane's saying, what I was saying is, having a system, because when we get busy, we have these peaks and valleys, right? We get so busy and all of a sudden we're at a peak. And then we focus on this peak, which is the buyers, the sellers, the closings, all the activities and admin stuff based off of those peaks. And then all of a sudden, all those deals close, right? And then what's gonna happen, because we didn't continue to focus on our referral systems, we have this super steep, sharp valley.
which I can also attest to.
Yeah, well, most agents can, 90+% agents can. And then all of a sudden you go back, and then you go back into lead conversion and lead generation and marketing and reaching out to your database and all this stuff, and then here you go, you're at another peak, and you're so busy focusing on those vital activities for that group of people that might have raised your hand, and all of a sudden that business closes and you're down another peak. So by being consistent, the key word is system, like being consistent with a really good referral marketing system. So what Shane was saying is very important, being able to track it, but then also subscribing and investing in the right programs, whether it's the right contact management system, whether it's the right referral marketing system, whether it's outsourcing that too, because there's a lot of people that you can leverage for less money than what you guys are worth yourselves to help you implement those systems. But I will tell you, and I'm gonna promise you guys are missing the boat if you don't have a referral marketing system. I think we've been beating that horse for the last
Constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
10+ years, 15+ years.
I'll say from a personal perspective, we didn't start tracking until about 3 years ago, and it was eye-opening, the amount, it's the top one, that the amount of business that came from that referral and those past clients. And then so when all X amount was being allocated to Zillow and things like that, it was not working, we were able to cut those costs and reallocate it back to that referral, and then which snowballs into these other things that we'll go through in the third section.
Yeah, and
So what do you do when you get a referral? Like, what do you do for that person?
Like the person that sent the referral, honestly, it depends on who it is. If it's been, maybe a repeat one, maybe we'll take them to lunch or something like that. But if it's just a random one, it's just a thank you.
thank you, you do gift card, $5.
Starbucks, it's just a thank you.
But the acknowledgement of the referral is the number one important thing. The acknowledgement and then the show of appreciation. Because if I give you a referral and you don't acknowledge it, you don't show any appreciation for it, then maybe I'll still give you more referrals, but I'm not as motivated or inspired to do so. But then also telling them, thank you so much for a referral. I'm gonna take really great care of these people. I'm gonna treat them, like gold, and just keeping them up to date. That's also should be part of your referral system, just because then they know, okay, I did make the right decision on referring this person to Shannon. Because most people, they know two of everything. They know two chiropractors, two dentists, two real estate agents. So how do we stay on top of mind with our database? And that's by, we're trying to get referrals, but then keeping them up to speed and showing them the signs of success. So that way they just feel more compelled to give you more and more referrals. But back to what Shane was saying, especially at year end, what I would definitely do, and most of you have already probably started to think about this, is track your business. If you did 10 deals, 20 deals, 30 deals, 100 deals, track where your business came from. And I would love to see what percentage of your business came from referrals, because most agents nationally within our brokerage, it's at least 40 to 50%. Some of our top agents are 70, 80, 90%. Jen Sambro, hers is like 90, it was like 90+%, and she's the queen of referral marketing. She's the one that will call you when it's your birthday, will send you a thinking of you type of card. All those things, those touches that are very cost effective versus paying for a zip code with Zillow or even farming a neighborhood. And those people, they know you, trust you, like you. Conversion rate on referrals is the highest conversion rate that you'll have with any other versus any other lead generation. Yeah, that's awesome. So this one is very important. So if you don't have a referral focused business plan and you don't have the systems and the organization to work by referral, you're definitely missing the boat. And
Go ahead.
I was gonna say a lot of agents go out of business because they never work by referral.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be overly complicated, especially when you first start. So our teams, for example, is very much, there's not a lot that we do when it comes to it. Jen's is crazy robust compared to what is done. There's birthday cards, gift cards sent monthly. There's personal text messages sent if I see like a baby, or we'll send a gift. And then other than that, we touch base with them through the referral squirrel program, and maybe we don't even no newsletters or anything like that. So there's really maybe 3 or 4 things that we do.
Yeah,
it's not overly difficult, complicated.
Yeah,
and with Facebook, birthdays are easy to get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They say if you touch someone 30 or you do 30, it's like a 33 touch program, right? That's what we thought, next level momentum. So all those things that Shane mentioned, Mother's Day, Father's Day, now their past client home anniversaries, but just anything that puts you on the top of mind. Well, social media too. I always forget my own thingy. Becca always remembers it though. What's my thing? 20 minutes,
10
likes,
5
comments, and
one connection or
one message, one direct message.
A day?
A day, yeah, 20 minutes, because most of us are on Facebook at least 20 minutes a day, right? So to be strategic and be purposeful with Facebook, so spend 20 minutes, and you can actually group your Facebook friends too. You can group them by your database. Like, I wouldn't, if you're on Facebook for 20 minutes, you don't really need to see any other agents' posts of what's going on. Oh, the LS isn't, the matrix isn't working today, or blah, blah, blah. No, focus on your database, right? So group all your friends, and for 20 minutes, try to find at least 10 things you like. If you find 200 things you like in 20 minutes, that's great. Then try to comment at least 5 times. Those comments can be birthday or anniversary, or if they have a fun post, just make that comment and then try to send a personal message to one person. Because if you add that up 5 days a week, 20 times a month, that's a lot of touches. And back to what we said, the way to really be on top of someone's mind isn't maybe just newsletters. Maybe it's not referral squirrel. It doesn't matter. It's a text message. We live in such a new age of digital kind of impressions. So, just Facebook, text messaging, email, all that stuff works. And text messages has a way higher open rate than emails do. I'll open a text message. It's like 90% to like less than 10% for email. But like I said, I don't want to scare everyone, but it is the truth. If you don't have a great referral marketing business model, you will not last in business. So, and some of those things too. So what I would do, especially in the slower months, this is a time where I always love working harder, and I always kind of correlate it to like being an athlete. You know, when everyone else is taking off winter because it's cold out, because it's Thanksgiving, because it's Christmas, you know, athletes, successful people, the true performers, they buckle down, they work on their business, not just in their business. So this is a great time to update your database. You know, we have this great contact list memory jogger that Sarah and Becca put together. So you guys can kind of go through that and double check, okay, is my chiropractor in this list? Is my kids' school teachers, are they in the list? The vice principal, the principal, you know, just kind of jog your memory. You know, I was talking to, I can't remember from, Lindsay from Kickstart. You know, she added her son's hairstylist to her database. And you know what, that's genius, because that stylist wants her son and her to be a customer, and it should be vice versa. So if there's a reciprocation there, then all of a sudden it's a win-win. So just think about those. I would say that this is a very important. Anything else on referrals?
Just don't overthink it.
Yeah, simple. Doesn't have to be, it just can be very simple. There's some really good programs out there. Not if anything, but Brian Buffini, Buffini Company has Referral Maker, and it's like $50 a month. It's a contact management tool. They automatically create like an item of value, which is some sort of piece on, you know, home tips or financial tips or, you know, self-help tips. It's nice and well designed, and it describes the system, automatically has your information on it. You send it through the contact management system, and it's one less thing that you have to create from scratch. Okay. Week 3, we talked about farming through marketing. Most people, when they think about farming, they think that it's just like a direct mail, oh, I'm gonna send out a just list and just sold market update. But think about farming in more than just a one-dimensional format. Think about it from a social media standpoint. So when you do boost, you know, your posts, that is definitely a kind of a way of farming. Going out and networking, networking with vets, networking with young professionals, networking with, you know, just anyone that's kind of in your same group. That's definitely another form of networking farming. Community events. I know, Shane, you're huge into the community events, and it's not just like Polk City stuff, right, Shane? It's like your church, you know, the partnership, things that you have a passion for. So sponsorships, and I know Randy, you added the door knockers, which I think is great. And I think it's one of those things where when you evaluate what you want to do or come up with the ideas, you never know if it's going to work until you try it. And so with Greg, what you're doing with your Homes for Heroes, that's great, but you definitely have to, we call it 8x8. Over an 8-week period, you send out 8 things and then you track it. And if you track your return on investment, you'll be able to say, okay, you know, this is what it cost us versus what we made from it, and is it a good investment? And sometimes, even though you're busy doing these mailers, and if it doesn't have any success, it isn't a great return on investment or a return on time, so you scratch it and move on to something else. But if it is a great investment for time and money, then it becomes part of your system.
Yeah, I would think also looking at social media, and this is something you can do fairly inexpensive. So like Randy, for example, you got a specific neighborhood you're doing these door hangers on, and maybe it already has one, but if not, maybe you start a community Facebook page for just that neighborhood that you control, where they post, you know, if they have block parties, or if they, you know, if they're gonna have, you know, all the lights come on, or just anything related to that
Especially in
neighborhood.
your own neighborhood.
And if you control it, and you're not being salesy, you're just providing value, you will see results in that. I know of, there's a pretty successful agent over in Omaha. She actually has up to 10 different community pages of where she's one of the top luxury agents in Omaha. She controls all of those Facebook pages, and she gets business because of that. That's fairly inexpensive. So in this program that you're doing these mailers, right? So what if you had a specific Facebook page that was called that, and it was for veterans, and you actually from there targeted veterans? You can find that in Facebook, fairly inexpensive. That would add to what you're already doing. So not only are they seeing your mailer as they're on Facebook, they're going to start to see your ads rolling on the side too. So those are things you can do that are inexpensive.
Now, that's a business Facebook.
Yes,
right?
business Facebook page, yeah. And it could be a sub-page of one of your other pages if you already have one.
And I would say definitely check and make sure that the neighbor doesn't already
Yeah,
have one.
yeah.
Because if they
Yeah.
already have one, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, just
Yep.
jump on theirs and all of a sudden you can, and they're also groups too, so, for home swap, like swap pages and things like that.
If,
But
I was gonna say, if someone already does own it, kind of work backwards and figure out who owns it. And if it's already another real estate agent, maybe go a different direction.
Yeah.
Because they're not gonna let you in.
Yeah, and then, the back to one of the basic forms of farming, the just listed, the just sold, especially if you have listings in that area, that should definitely be a service that you offer for your sellers to help, sell their homes. But then also, if you've sold a home, it doesn't have to be your listing, Shannon. If you sell a house in West Des Moines, even though that wasn't your listing, it was your buyer, you can still tell everyone in that surrounding area, hey, welcome so-and-so.
Just sold his house.
I help them buy this house. This is who they are. And if you are ever thinking about selling, I have more buyers, or we have more buyers. That's definitely a fair statement to make. As a brokerage, we have lots and lots and lots of buyers.
The important part there, just from a compliance standpoint, is to not make it look like it was your listing. Make sure that you credit for that it wasn't your listing.
Yeah. But again, this farming through marketing, everything we just talked about, still secondary to referral. Create a robust system. If you haven't optimized referrals, focus on that first. This should only come second once you're 100% on your referrals. Week 4, we talked about buyer conversion, with the strategy of being relation-based selling, and I do want to touch on that quite a bit. Some of you might know this, but I've been selling for a very, very long time, even before I got into real estate. As a kid, I would sell raffle tickets to raise money to go to different track meets throughout the nation. So I've always been in front of people. And one of the best training programs I've ever been a part of was when I was at Financial Group, and it was called Integrity Selling. What Integrity Selling is, it's all about relation-based selling. People don't want to be sold. They don't want to be closed. They don't want to be pressured, right? We don't want to be that. So when you're working with buyers, you're working with sellers, think about it from a relationship standpoint. Think about it as, how can I help this person? And sometimes helping them doesn't mean you sell them anything. Helping them points them in the right direction. And at the end of the day, you will still win from that. So from a relationship standpoint, building that rapport, getting to know them, getting them to know you, getting them to like you, then understanding what their needs are, what their wants are, what motivates them, what scares them. Just getting inside their brain so that you know 100% their situation and their vision of what they're trying to do. And then from there, demonstrating that you can help them achieve those needs, those wants. And again, demonstration is showing them, if you're a vet and you want to buy your first home and you're in this situation, I can help you with this program. That's your demonstration. It's not, hey, I'm the best, I can sell you this or negotiate that. Those are definitely things that you can do tactfully, but that isn't truly demonstrating how you can help them. And then from there, just kind of validating, reinforcing, okay, is this, are we pointed in the right direction? Is this what you were thinking? Is this what you were looking for? Asking them opinions. Can you see yourself living here? If you were to get an offer for this price, would you be willing to accept it? So coming from sales from a relation-based standpoint is gonna, truly improve your conversion rate 10, 20, 30-fold. So the buyer conversion is very important. So review that. There's some great things that we've handed out over the last quite a few years, but the buyer vital activities, and we're going to talk about activity management, but definitely time blocking yourself for the vital buyer activities, and then also working on a buyer presentation. We've done that quite a bit in Kickstart too. So if you need some help, some ideas on a really good buyer presentation, and then a complete buyer file. And so I would actually have you guys refer to some of the handouts that we've given. And I'm a big believer in having systems for buyers. From the time you meet with a buyer, get that appointment, come into the office, have that sit down, talk about your buyer's presentation, get to know them, build that rapport, that relationship with them, discuss with them your process, timelines, how you work, how you get paid, your role as their agent. If you want to have them sign off on an exclusive buyer agreement or not, that's your business decision. And then also this buyer profile that I was just mentioning, you know, having like a nice questionnaire of, you know, who they are, what they do, what their family's all about, their kids, their pets, names, ages, you know, how often do they want to receive updates and information, how they want to be communicated with, what they're looking for, areas, school district, price point, size, garage, all that stuff. And because if you just have that conversation with them, I guarantee you guys aren't going to remember 100%. But if you're having that conversation with them, you have the buyer questionnaire, you're filling it out, you're taking great notes, you're paraphrasing it back to them, all of a sudden they're like, wow, Marinella's listening to me. Marinella wrote down everything that we're talking about. She took this seriously. And if Marinella is up against Joe Blow that isn't doing that, I guarantee you those buyers are going to go with Marinella because she's listening. So does that kind of make sense? I love working with buyers. I mean, you know, a lot of us, you know, are trying to get more listings, but you know, buyers are fun. You have fun with it, and it's a great way to control your income.
And the way he was going over for the approach is really important in the fact that buyers are smart. There's nothing they cannot find on the internet. So you have to bring value in another way. And that is what he's talking about.
Yeah, think about that too, as far as, you know, what are you gonna do that differentiates yourself from other agents? Even like Uber drivers, you know, Uber drivers they got ice cold water, they got magazines, they've got, you know, they're just really trying to roll out that red carpet. Yeah, candy. So you as an agent, you know, how are you gonna set yourself apart as a buyer's agent? You know, what services are you gonna provide? What additional tools and tips and things like that you're gonna provide them to truly help them be successful buyers. So think about all that stuff. We've given out a lot of handouts and information, but you know, if you've got some really good solid buyers, you know, there's no better time than now to really enhance the system for them. Week 5, talk about pricing. We even have a quote here from Lance: pricing is more important than any other single thing you can do when it comes to listing. Pricing is the best marketing tool. You could take the best photos, you can have the greatest virtual tours, you can create standalone single property websites, you can boost the listing on Facebook for hundreds and thousands or tens of dollars. But at the end of the day, the best marketing tool is price. So go back and review the pricing beliefs, the 7-step pricing strategy, pricing conversion, a conversation dialogue. I don't know, Marino, with a conversation you had with your sellers. I don't know, did you go through some of these steps when you sat down and met with them?
So what through some, yeah.
How does everyone feel with pricing?
I still ask for
Well, of course.
help.
What do you mean? I mean, how do you?
Well, does everyone feel comfortable with pricing, like doing CMAs and giving value to the sellers on the homes?
I do it first and then have people check it and then check it again. And then
She's doing that, I don't know why she's freaking out.
Yeah, well, and it is something that is an art form. It is something that comes with time and experience and lots and lots and lots of practice. But this framework that we have for week 5 for pricing is the best framework. And now you just don't overthink things, just take this approach. A couple things I would add is like RPR, using that as a resource, which is one of probably the better resource tools.
It's good, it's pretty accurate within the greater metro. You get outside the metro, it's not as accurate, but you can use it as a base.
RPR.
RPR,
And I've been.
which everyone has access to through
Matrix.
Matrix, name was.
Yeah,
Okay.
what I do, just to let you guys know too, what I like to do too is I RPR it, assessor it, double check Zillow, because that's where, whether we like it or not, that's where the consumers are gonna go for pricing, right? And then also Remax, our website, has a pricing tool. Because, you know, don't use those to dilute your market analysis, but then also from a listing process standpoint, we have a pre-listing questionnaire. And one of those things that we have as a question is, how much do you think your house is worth? You know, and then you have all this, you put that to the side, you do your own independent research on what you think it's worth, and then you don't always have to have like an exact dollar. If anything, an exact dollar sometimes can bite you in the butt. I'd always like to do ranges. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I think on the low end, it's gonna be this price. On the high end, it's gonna be this. I would suggest probably being somewhere in the middle based on, whether it's condition, also time. That's the one thing, we have a lot of conversation dialogues that we've talked about, but one of the things I always tell people is time. If you need to move and your family's, your husband's already out of state for a job and you and the kids want to be with them sooner, price it to sell. Price it 1%, 2%, 3% maybe below market value, and it will sell fast. And if anything, you might have multiple offers. So there's lots of different dialogues, conversations that you can have. But the key thing with pricing is you just have to be really honest too, because if you say 179, they say 185, not a huge spread, $6,000. But if you think 179, they say 210. That's a big spread. And buyers are very, very price sensitive. Like it's one of the most price sensitive things that I think in any market, any industry. They just know prices. Like we deal in all markets, Ankeny, Polk City, Cumming, Norwalk, and we deal in all different types of price points, right? 150, 250, 350, 450. But that buyer that you're working with, they know they have lasered into what they're looking for. They're looking for Schuler Elementary, single family, 2-story, 4 bedrooms, granite, hardwood floors. So they know that, the house is gonna be worth either that 350, or if you price it at 375, and say, they're gonna call bullshit. No, that's priced too high. We're gonna keep looking.
I've had that happen.
Mm-hmm.
The lady
Buyer or
ended
seller?
up, seller, she ended up listing it with Iowa Realty,
Oh, yeah, I
because
remember
he decided that they can list it at 124.9, but you can probably sell it for no more than 105.
that's the conversation that you have, is that you're in the business to sell houses,
Yeah.
not list them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And not buy that listing, because that's
Yeah.
essentially what happened.
Now it's at 119, but I had probably like 3 buyers for now, like since then,
Mhm.
that could like buy it for like 105, 110.
So take them in at 105 and write the offer.
And keep them sides.
And,
Nope, they didn't want it.
oh,
They turned it down.
Oh,
and you still have a listing?
No.
Oh, it's at
somebody
Iowa.
else's.
Well, this is someone else's. I also
Oh.
have another listing.
I was gonna say,
that
at
the
that point,
guy
if they turn it
also-
down, you cancel the listing.
Yeah.
Not being
Well,
realistic.
another thing too, and I can't remember if this was as part of Lance's presentation, but one thing I like to do too is bring in a list of all the listings that have either withdrawn, canceled, or expired. And my whole approach was, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I want to show you this list because, this is part of my marketing strategy. These sellers, these houses, they wanted to do the same thing that you are trying to do. They wanted to sell their home, so they agreed to list their house. And for whatever reason, they failed in that goal. And it might be the failure of them, their house, the way they priced it, the way it showed, or it might be a failure of the agent and their recommendation for price. And so we can definitely go off of active, you can compete with the active prices for those houses haven't sold yet. And, part of my market analysis is to go and compare against pending and solds, but part of the history of these expires, withdrawn, cancels, they did not sell for whatever reason. And if you want to make it a point because of the way they had it priced, you can use those houses. If it's because of the way they were presented, whether it was paint colors or staging or countertops or appliances, you can use that too. But I would definitely, start adding that in as part of your listing presentation to get some expireds, cancels, and use those as, things not to do for your seller. Does that make sense? But pricing is very, very important. And if you need help with pricing, just let us know. Jane's really good at pricing. Lance is very good at pricing. I'm okay at it just because I haven't done it as much lately with resale.
Well, and I'd say too, obviously, Marinella's got her people, but if you're in a situation to where you're not sure, go ahead and pre-do your CMA, but then send it over to us and we'll take a look at you.
Yeah, and it never hurts to call another agent. Like if you have, a list of some of the comps active, say, hey, just shop them, right? If I am gonna list something and Shannon's got a listing around the corner, just say, hey, Shannon, I want to call you, ask you a few questions about this listing, or you get a lot of traffic, you think it's priced right? I mean, doesn't hurt, right? They can always not tell you information. Same thing with appraisers. Appraisers do that to us. Why not call them up and say, hey, you know, you appraise this house or this and that, and just dig in for a lot of research. There's a lot of the seasoned vet agents, they do that. I mean, I have an agent that's probably been in business since the early 80s. Every time he lists something in an area that I've sold, he'd call me up and ask me questions. He's a perennial circle of excellence agent.
I used to do that.
Any questions on that, guys? How are we doing on time back there?
11:45.
In week 6, we talked about listing conversion, strategy of having a conversation versus telling a seller what to do. So definitely go back and review the 7 vital listing responsibilities, 47 vital listing activities. Make that 47 vital listing activities your own. Some of it is relevant to our market, some of it maybe isn't. Some of the things you might say aren't vital to the way that you want to run your business. And also though, there's going to be probably a handful, if not more, of things that you want to add that are vital for you to, successfully list homes. 5 stages of converting a listing, dialogue, examples, overcoming objections. That was actually, the listing conversion is something, and buyer conversion is something that if you keep practicing and studying and honing your craft, even if you only go on 1 listing a month, if you double or triple or quadruple your conversion rate, you don't have to go on more listing appointments.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing in that one is just overcoming objections, getting the dialogue down, being able to respond quickly to their questions or their shooting you down or whatever it may be, and not pausing. If you pause, then you lose credibility. So being able to think quickly as to what to say and to make sure you're accurate. If it's a situation you're maybe challenged on something that you're not sure maybe an answer on, and don't make it up, just say, I'm not sure on that, I'll find that out, get back to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, being confident is probably one of the most important things with overcoming any objections. And at the end of the day, just as much as the seller is interviewing you to be an agent,
right,
you should be interviewing them to be a client, because not all sellers are created equal. Some are going to be very demanding. They're going to want you to overprice their house. They're going to want you to do more above and beyond than what you should do or have done in the past.
While their house is overpriced.
Well, yeah, we have situations where we have builders that complain and say, no, we wanted to be in the Des Moines Register. The Des Moines Register print ad, full page every week. No, that doesn't make sense. No one, really looks at print anymore. We have a better strategy. It's social media, it's direct mail, whatever your strategy is. So definitely be prepared and be confident. And what Shane said is perfect. If you don't know the answer, say, you know what, I don't know. That's a great question, but I can find out. So, any questions on that at all?
Well, and then I have a key phrase, because people are like, try to get you lower your commission and things like that. That would actually, if you start to use this with confidence, that those people will pay you what you ask for. And when that phrase is, people don't pay us because I'm the cheapest, or pay me because I'm cheapest, they pay me because I'm the best. And say with confidence, and you'll get what you're asking for.
Yeah. So to go back to those things, lots of great things there. Week 7, that was actually Rachel Harms and I talked about holding open houses. How many in this room are doing open houses pretty regularly? Ray, Randy, Marinella, Shannon, not so much.
Every week.
Every week. What's your results been like?
Got skunked twice.
Mm-hmm.
Had 5 at one of them.
What do you do on the ones when no one shows up?
I bring materials with me.
So the ones that no one showed up, were those grinds, the construction, is that what you mentioned?
One of them was, and another one was, I would consider it new construction, but Jeff and Jen had it rented out. It was over on Brody and Waukee.
Oh, okay.
I was over there, and the only people that came through was I will be able to use their
Buyers.
with their buyers for the second time. So
The one that you had 5 groups through, what kind of open house was that?
that was a listing of Justin's actually
Okay.
up in our office. So it was up in Grimes.
What
And it was
resale?
not new construction.
Okay. What price point?
So, 305.
Okay. And what the people say, like how they find it, and what was their reasons for coming out?
One couple, I had a recap for them. So one couple was there because their kids might be moving to town, that kind of thing. Another one was there at halftime of the Vikings game with 3 kids that he was visiting. He'd actually lived in Basin City. There were 2, I did follow up and am following up with the parents of the people that might move there, and then also one other couple that had a townhome in Waukegan.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
What I would definitely,
Stand program.
yeah, I would, for everyone in this room, I would definitely revisit the open house material that we went over. We've got the video online too, right, Becca? That's probably before you even plan on doing an open house, the number one thing is picking the right house, picking the right area, picking the right neighborhood. Not all
That's
open
what
houses are.
I've been trying to do.
And sometimes you just never know. Sometimes you can pick the right house, perfect price, and you're still gonna have 0, but it's having that mindset that you're still gonna make it productive while you're there, whether it's that or working. So I'll actually just share with you. So this is show you how effective open still can be. Success stories that's happened in the last 4 months. So an agent had a listing in Granger, did an open house. This was like maybe a month and a half. He'd done a couple of this. Someone shows up from Norwalk, ends up writing an offer, subject to sell, double sides it. But then this one gets listed, gets that listing, ends up doing an open down there, ends up double siding it. So now he's got 2. These are closing next week.
Who's this?
Who was the agent? Andrew Bowman.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, so now he's got the Ford transaction, Ford sides. And then that person, because they don't have to sell their first one, is gonna turn around and list their other one, so now there's 5 sides that is attributed to that first open house. So it still happens.
I'm not gonna stop doing it.
Yeah, so even if, as many times as you've gotten 0, this one scenario makes up for all the times in the past 2 years that no one showed up.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I've got no problem.
Yeah, it is a mindset of doing open houses.
the one in Granger is a rural area. You just
Yeah,
never know.
yeah, never know. My first year in business, 70% of my business came from open house.
That's why I'm
Brand new
there.
people,
It's all mindset.
brand new
Yep.
people that I had never
That's why I'm
met.
there.
So,
Be positive going into it. You're like, oh, it's custodial, I'm gonna show up. Then it's gonna be a bad.
I brought the vacuum cleaner back in one for them.
wow,
That's
that's red carpet service right there, yeah.
Yeah, I got a number for that.
So go back, review that information, definitely add that as a pillar, especially if you're hungry for business, you need business, why not? Why not do an open house? Because you never know. And if you pick up one buyer and they end up using you, and you can definitely make it a great month with just one additional sale from an open house. Okay, week 8, we talked about for sale by owners and expireds. Anyone practicing any of the for sale by owner or expired systems that we've talked about?
I'm debating whether to start that or not. I did look last week to see what was available in Johnston.
So here would be my take on that. If you're considering it, I would very much start doing it, because if you haven't seen it, what you're gonna start to see is it was seller's market, right? There was plenty of listings, there were FISBOs, there was all this stuff. They're gonna continue to be that, but it is now shifted into a neutral. By the end of first quarter, I personally believe it's gonna be flip-flopped and it's gonna become a buyer's market. These are gonna become the things to go after in the next 3 or 4 months as that shift happens. So if you're gonna do it, I would do it now.
Yeah, I looked at, on Zillow, I think there was 12 in Johnston. And then there was like maybe 9 in Grimes, I wanna say.
Yeah, and then this also ties into back, to overcome an objection. A good chunk of these people are gonna tell you no, they're gonna yell at you, they're gonna do multiple things, but you'll continue to be able to work on your overcoming objection and get proficient at it, and if you get 1 or 2 out of it, it's become worth it.
Yeah, this stat here that Becca put in the handout, 85% of for sale by owners eventually turn over to a professional. And that 85%, not all of them have have a real estate agent. If you think about it, in our market, there's around 2,000 agents for a metro area of 600 plus. So not everyone knows an agent. So just by being one of the two that I mentioned earlier, at least you got a 50% chance on that 85. But for sale by owners too, the one cool thing about them is they want to sell their house. Now it's just a matter of if you can make it work. And the thing is, you don't have to go after them. My strategy always you don't need to go after them as a listing. At least go after them in the fact that you have a buyer and they're willing to pay a buyer's commission. That's half the battle. And that's a real easy, back to the whole relationship, I'm here to help you. If Carrie was a for sale by owner and selling her house in Urbandale, and I had a buyer, or even if I didn't have a buyer, but I liked the way her house looked and might have a buyer in the future, or the brokerage or your office has buyers, what I would do is I'd just reach out to Carrie, because on Zillow or on for sale by owner, now we gotta be careful as far as, messaging and this and that, so just double check that. But I would say, hi, I'm Meksay, I'm a local agent with Remax Concepts. I've got a buyer that may have interest in your property. If I were to bring this buyer to your property, show them, and they would have interest in purchasing it, would you be willing to pay me a commission? I would ask 3.5%, whatever you want to ask for, and that's it.
So you're calling the contact phone
You don't
number
even
from
have
the
to-
homeowner
Yeah,
on.
you don't even have to
on
call them
Zillow.
either. You can definitely send them a message. Send them a
Does
message.
that go to them?
Yeah,
You go directly to them on the Facebook.
Okay,
But you have to make sure you're
That's-
disclosing that you're an agent.
yeah, the signature. will be
Well,
there
and
too, so.
so I have different perspectives on this. Everyone's got different approaches.
Mhm.
Yes, if you have a buyer, someone in the office has a buyer, there's totally call them and say you want to preview the house. But make sure you do have that, because if they find out that you don't, lose that credibility, that's gone.
Mhm.
Because then what happens is if you do it, say 2 months down the road, nothing's happened, they'll call you to then list their house because you brought someone through. Now, on top of that, I personally don't ever suggest talking the commission thing up front. All I suggest saying is, hey, will you cooperate with the buyer's agent? They'll say yes or no. Sometimes they'll say, yeah, but I'm only paying 1%. That's awesome, great to hear out, we'll discuss it if the buyer's even interested. Because if the buyer's not interested, it doesn't even matter.
Right.
I'm not gonna get in an argument over 1 or 2% if it's not relevant at the time. Because there have been scenarios where a buyer does really want the house, seller pays 2%, the buyer said, yeah, I'll pay 1% to get it done.
Yeah, sure.
So you just never know. So I personally don't do the whole percentage thing up front. There are a lot of people who do.
Yeah.
Well, I think the phrase there is potential buyers too. It doesn't have to be a buyer.
Yeah, because what Indian and I, it was like 3 months ago, someone was doing this and they're like, well, how many buyers do you have? And it kind of caught him off guard. And he's like, well, I don't know the exact number. Well, if you don't know the exact number, how do I know you really have buyers? And the guy was very standoffish. At that point, just move on to the next one. Because that's not going to be a good deal.
Or know your answer.
Or know your answer.
Yeah. But back to the whole commission thing, it's your business, however you guys want to run it.
Yep.
The last thing you want to do though is really have a buyer, take them through, buyer falls in love with the property, but you haven't, talked about commission, or they haven't agreed to pay commission. So I always did it because I didn't want to waste my time and waste the potentially miss the opportunity to collect a commission for a buyer. And so what I would do is if they said yes, great, I'm gonna send over an unrepresented seller form, have you sign it, I dot loop it to them, then I tell them, my normal steps is I'd like to preview this home before I actually show the buyer, and gives me a great opportunity to see if it fits for the buyer, but also gives me a great opportunity to build a relationship with that seller, get to know them. You can ask, non-agency specific questions, and then from there, you can say, you know what, Mr. Bissell, I think it's gonna be a great fit for my buyer Shannon, and I would like to schedule a time.
What was that loop form?
Unrepresented
seller form.
Okay.
Yep, I will set up the time. Or you can say, you know what, this is their situation, they have 3 kids, they need a big backyard, and unfortunately, I don't think this is gonna work, but I will keep it in mind for other buyers. But I noticed you didn't have a seller's disclosure. Here's a copy of a seller's disclosure that you might be able to use, or this is an item of value, or this is our some YouTube videos that Remax has produced, fit to sell, or just some item of value. Or I noticed the master bathroom, was painted in purple, and you might want to think about, neutralizing that. Just things that are going to help them sell, whether or not it's your buyer. So lots of relationship building opportunities. Then also though, that is a service, back to your buyer conversion, that's a service that you can go to your buyer and say, hey, you find a for sale by owner, because the last thing you want them to do is find the house, go directly to the seller, make a direct deal happen, so say I'm not paying a commission, all of a sudden they get attorneys involved and cut us out of the deal, right? So back to your services to your buyers, say, hey, I will aggressively look for houses, not just on the MLS, but for sale by owner, next generation, expires, pocket listings, things like that. So it really makes it a win-win, especially if you got the time, energy, you're hungry to make some deals happen. There's lots of sales out there.
So two things that we know on this. One, the seller disclosure is a huge one because, like you said, if they have it somewhere, maybe posted, or don't know, but then you're not sure, ask, hey, can I get a copy of the seller's disclosure? They'll say, yeah, I don't have one. Well, then like we said, well, you know what, we provide you one, no strings attached. You can use that because you're gonna need it. They say, yeah, we have one, we'll get it to you. Very awesome. You're actually ahead of the curve when it comes to other people doing for sale by owners. So you're crediting them with that. The next thing is, and as this starts to grow, because it will jump back up, when you're doing FSBOs, and even if you dabble in expireds, the earlier you can do it in the morning, the better. Because there are other places here in town where that's all they teach, and you have 500 people calling the same phone number. You don't want to be in the middle of that. So again, you're gonna have people yell at you, you're gonna have people mad at you, but I used to
By
do
early in the
it
morning, what do you mean?
7:30
To call
to
the
call them.
sellers?
7:38.
I used to do it at 7:30.
One thing I will tell you too is,
But with FSBO's easy. In that case, I'm jumping to expired, but FSBO just shooting the email.
I think with expireds and for sale by owners, that first week that they go on the on the for sale by owner site, they're gonna get bombarded with agents. And then what we have seen and heard is after that first week, it dies off completely. They don't get as much communication. So if you can drip them, reach out to them, maybe not hit them the first week, wait, because after the first week, they get blasted by everyone, right? But they're not even ready to list yet. They've just put their house for sale by owner. So what I would do is maybe kind of keep your eye on it. If you have a buyer, a legitimate buyer, absolutely reach out to them. But after that first week, then just kind of create that follow-up system. Touch them with one thing 1 week and then have a follow-up system from
And I
there.
think over half of them I looked at have been on over 50 days already.
Yeah.
And that's a very valid point. So as far as like say, whether it's FSBO or is expired, they are being bombarded those first few days. So if they're ones you maybe are interested in, keep track of them in a spreadsheet and then check them maybe again 72 hours later. And if they're still expired or they're still, this is more for expired, but if they're still expired, then follow up with them, because if they were gonna relist it, we would have already done it. Because they would have already either A, talked to a new agent before their other one expired, or B, they would have just relisted with who they're already with.
Yeah, absolutely. I tracked for sale by owners. I don't do anything with for sale by owners anymore, but like back in 2010, 2011, I was like 10 to 15% of my business was for sale by owners. And so that was about 4 to 5 deals. And you take that times, $4,000 to $5,000 commission check on average. That's a lot of money. So, all right, let's move on. Expireds, I will say too, we've got a lot of local agents, a lot of national agents that have made a great living, created a great business model off of expireds. It is definitely something you have to commit a lot of time and energy and have some really solid systems on, but they're already willing to pay a commission. Their houses just did sell. And I've always been a big believer, sometimes being first isn't the best, sometimes being second is better. So definitely think about that.
Well, and to touch on that, right now there's not a ton of expireds, but again, that's gonna go back up. And then, my first 6 months in the business back in 2009, I built a 20+ listing inventory all off of expireds. I called a ton of them to get that, but that was what it was built on.
That's awesome. Okay, any questions on that at all? So that was a recap of all the prior weeks. So there's 8 weeks of lots of great information. And then just moving forward, wrapping up everything, now it's back to, making sure you're taking action, you're studying what we've presented, practicing it, and then also you're reinforcing it daily. But to do that, you really need to focus on reaching your own potential. Okay, sometimes some people say, well, I'm gonna compare myself to another agent. This agent does, 4 million a year or 100-some-thousand commission, and you compete with that person, but you're really not competing against the most important person, and that's yourself. You're not truly living up to your own potential. So I would say focus less on others and their production and focus on yourself as far as what your maximum output should be or could be. And we also, Shane and I are actually probably, I don't know if there's any two other peoples in our company that talk about time as much as we do. I've always been a big believer that time is your most important asset. It's the only thing that, if you waste, you're never gonna get back. You can always make more money. You can always leverage yourself to save more money, right? But as far as time is the #1 resource. So just think about how you utilize time. We have it here that, time management is an oxymoron. You can't control time. You can't stop it, start it, pause it, rewind it. But what you can focus on is your activities, the things that you need to do to stay in business, the vital activities. So we've got some, information on, 10 steps to becoming fully leveraged.
And to touch on that, everyone's definition of what they want to accomplish being leveraged is different.
Yeah. So maximizing your operational output, we've got 10 steps. The first step is analyzing your current model, all the things that you need to do, all the strategies all the plans that you need to do to achieve your goals. And the second step is recording all your current activities. So what are you currently doing every minute, every hour, every day, step by step, whether it's the 47 vital buyer or 47 or 39 vital seller activities. You're just recording everything that you need to do.
With that,
Trade.
89 total, yeah, whatever. And then step 3 though, once you're recording like everything you need to do step by step, minute by minute, then determining what is vital and what is not vital. Because back to time versus money, we as business owners should focus on the things that make us money. So figuring out what's vital, what's not vital.
and the other thing with leading this and leveraging your time, because as you continue to grow, you do need help doing things like, maybe marketing, maybe doing your newsletter and stuff like that. And people that were like, I don't have the money to do so. But there are ways, there are companies, Outbound Desk is one. Just randomly, someone the other day messaged me and said they do a virtual assistant for $6 an hour. So you can find ways to do it inexpensive.
Yeah. And then from there, back to the 89, now we know what your vital activities are, which, we also gave you guys a list of that. And then creating checklists, like step-by-step checklists of what you need to do for every situation, buyer, seller, for sale by owner, referral marketing, open houses. And then from there, you're organized, because once you determine what you can do and how much time you have to do those things, depending on your level of business, you might say, you know what, I don't have enough time to do these things, so I can actually leverage someone else to help me do that. And once you've come to that conclusion, whether it's someone from my outdesk or a virtual or a part-time assistant, all of a sudden you can actually create desired positions, job descriptions, activities, and all that what you're doing is you're creating a team to help you achieve your goals. Anyone in this room at that position where you're looking to add an assistant or add team members to help you with your business? Yeah. Marilyn, not yet?
I think I.
Well, and that's the reason I ask is when we are ready to do that, when you guys are ready to do that, we definitely have lots of handouts, resources, job descriptions, interview
whole packet
questions.
here. A whole packet of, job descriptions, interview questions, what, tasks to have them do. We have a
Definitely want to
good
set
site,
parameters.
we have a good site that we use called a disc test that we use for staff that you can use to get the personality of the people, and that way you can kind of see how you're going to fit with them.
It's pretty cool.
And I personally, and I think someone can attest to this, I've had some of our agents take it just so I can help guide them in the right direction as to what to do. So,
Yeah.
Those tests are always fun to take.
and you know what's crazy is how freakishly accurate they are. I've yet to find one that's not been accurate.
Sometimes they're so freakishly scary.
It is.
Scary.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, that would be me.
I wasn't naming names.
But if and when you guys are ready for that, that definitely should be a one-on-one conversation that you should have with one of us or even like another team leader that's been or done that.
And we've gone as far as if you get in that position, maybe you think you have someone, we've interviewed them for that person to make sure that it would be a good relationship.
I've interviewed a lot of assistants and sometimes I've been right, most of the time, I shouldn't say most of the time. But sometimes it just helps to have a second opinion. Because, hiring the wrong person definitely can be counterproductive, to what you're trying to do. But, if and when you're ready to do that, we're big believers in leveraging yourself, growing your business. I mean, look at Shane and how many staff members do you have?
75.
75.
17, 5 staff.
Yeah. And I have, my Dreamscape team, I don't even know how many staff members, like 4 or 5 staff members. And you look at the leadership team and the directors that we've added from a broker standpoint, Becca and Sarah, Jamie, Rhonda. So we are firm believers of, helping yourselves get to that level. You have to leverage, finding the right talent, grow them, develop them, and ultimately it's gonna help you achieve your dreams, okay? So almost done here, we're on page 7. We talked about activities management. That's the biggest thing that I would highly recommend is back to what we're talking about, like expireds and for sale by owners. That is lead generation. And when you look at your calendar from a 7-day standpoint, mapping out where and what you should be doing is very important. And we talked about this a lot of times, but what Shane and I recommend is you always start with your personal time. What's your responsibilities for your family members, your friends, your health, yourself, when you want to exercise, when you want to eat, when you get shower, or get dressed, all that stuff. So block out those times first and foremost. The second thing you should be blocking out is lead generation and lead conversion, because without leads, we're not going to make any money, we're not going to stay in business. And so I was always a big believer that you have to block out at least 2 hours a day for lead generation. Lead generation can be for referrals, open houses, expireds, for sale by owners, targeting sellers, all that stuff. And I always like to do lead generation when I'm at my highest mental energy state. So for me, that's 8 to 10. And that's when I don't focus on anything else. I don't check emails, I don't check my text messages, I'm not on Facebook, I'm not watching TV. Everything else is off, it's silent. No one's gonna die because you didn't respond to your text or email from 8 to 10. But if you focus and time block those 2 hours, then all of a sudden it becomes a habit. All of a sudden you get in the zone, and all of a sudden you're gonna touch so many people, so many different groups, that's gonna all potentially lead back to appointments. So definitely do at least 2 hours a day for lead generation. And then the lead conversion part is the buyer appointments, the seller appointments. Back to your business plan, back to your goals. If you have a goal of trying to sell 25 houses a year, right, listing or sales, you have to break that down to numbers. And what I always said is I needed 4 buyer leads, 4 seller leads, 4 closings a month, right? So if I knew I needed 4 buyers, I'm not converting, unfortunately, none of us are 100%. So what I always knew is I needed to at least have 8 to 12 buyer referrals a month, okay? All right, and if I wanted to have 4 new listings, I might need to actually have 12 to 16 new seller leads a month, right? Sounds like a big number, but I knew my database had 400 people in my database. And I knew that if I touched my database at least 2 to 3 times a month with an newsletter, a referral squirrel, a client appreciation drawing, something that, touched them and asked them for a referral, I knew that my 400 people would send me or be direct clients at a 10% rate. So that meant I got 40 deals from my 400-person database. So those are all the numbers that you kind of have to work around based on your own goals. And so those 2 hours of lead conversion per day, 10 hours per week, are buyer appointments, seller appointments. You gotta hit your numbers. Appointments are the key thing. If you get a buyer lead and all it does is sit in your phone, your text messages, or sits in your inbox, and you're not setting up office meetings and showings and next step meetings, then you're not gonna convert those buyers. You definitely need a time block lead conversion. And then the third thing is client care. And so for me, what I always like to do is when I felt like it wasn't the most opportune time to be in front of people, like my downtime, and that a lot of times that's like right before lunch, right after lunch, I would just follow up with people. Okay, this is, what we've got going on for your closing day. We've got scheduled inspection, appraisal, all that stuff. Client conversion is very important. And then also thinking through client conversion, think about the different services that you can provide that are above and beyond what your client expects that will ultimately make them a raving fan and give you these 5-star reviews. And then also time blocking for personal development, which obviously you guys have done a great job on. And what we said earlier is learning never stops. I plan on learning until I die. And whether it's reading books, self-help, they say that you should reinvest 10% of your income back into your education, whether that's going to conventions, seminars, online things, coming to training, Remax University, YouTube videos, podcasts, time block for that. Because once you put information in your brain, it never goes back. It always expands. You never contract once you learn that information. Does that make sense, guys? But that's definitely, next level stuff. Controlling yourself, your activities, your mindset. Trying to use the most of the time that you have. But
Break down how much I'm gonna do for. So my final statement in this is, and everything we went over the last few weeks is, real estate is simple. You do the little things, and it'll add to big results. It's not a secret.
not a secret. Shane and I were actually talking about this earlier. Vince Lombardi, the great NFL coach, Green Bay Packers, the person they named the Super Bowl trophy after, he was very, very focused on making sure that his players were the best at the simple things. Blocking, passing, tackling. If they could be the best at those 3 things, they would win championships. So for you guys, the 4 most basic things that you got to focus on: lead generation, lead conversion, personal development, and customer service. Those 4 things, you focus on those 4 things, you're going to have a very successful business.
Yeah, that's actually, who knows who John Wooden is? No girls, no? Okay. Probably, if not the best, I know he's one of the best basketball coaches in history. If you listen to his biography, the first thing he ever taught his players when they went to UCLA was how to tie their shoes and how to tie them right, how to put on their socks. And when a lot of them were offended by that because they're these athletes. If you can't put on your socks right, you can't tie your shoes, how are you going to do these other things? They get blisters, then they can't play. So even that one little thing, and then he had 1 losing season, and that was his first season.
Real estate is simple. It's just all about having a great plan, being consistent. It's not rocket science. You guys are always going to get tempted with the grass is greener, with
Shiny word.
the next Zillow, the next CRM, the next Technics. Well, the good news is we're already on those things. We're researching, to studying, making sure that we know what we're going to recommend. So for you guys just really have to do the basics. And the basics is, those 4 things.
Any questions? Going over, do you want to go over?
I have a question for you guys too. We're wrapping up 2017, which is crazy. This year went by so fast. 2018, back to the recap. How many of you guys have already set goals and started a plan? Awesome. What time is it, by the way?
12:20.
Okay, real quick, anyone want to share goals? Mariana, what's your goal?
No. This made me Ricky of you.
Let's put you in a spot. Let's
I used your well, Susanna used your steps to break down all the stuff down to a simple.
Oh, okay.
Or per week.
Uh-huh.
Stuff, yeah.
What is it? What you got?
I don't wanna say it.
This is a safe place.
Well, I
Are we
did
still
it by,
video?
Do you want to say that?
I did it by,
Hi.
God, you put me on the spot now. I did it by.
We
so I
turned
got
off the video.